Okay, it's a little bit early to start, but I'm going to just start by chatting a little bit here. I just want to make sure everything is going to work for the interview. I'm like really early, like 15 minutes early. The early bird catches the worm, as they say. I love to be early for things. So um, here we go. Looks like Sandy has just arrived. We won't actually start the actual interview. I just want her to get a little bit more comfortable with talking on the microphone before we begin. So,
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Sandy.
Hey, can you hear me okay, or am I too loud?
Nope, I hear you perfectly. It's the perfect volume and everything.
Okay, great. I'm
So
so nervous.
You're fine. We're just a little bit early, like 15 minutes early. I'm an early bird. But I figured that we could just chat or whatever while we're waiting, and I've got all the notes here to ask you the questions and all that kind of good stuff. But I'll probably show my face because I got all dressed up for the occasion.
Aw, I should have dressed up and I didn't. I should have.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I knew you said you probably weren't going to be comfortable being on camera anyways, but I'm just, I'm more comfortable on camera. I hate avatars for me personally. I don't like them. So.
It's because you're on here all the time. It's like you're always just you. Yeah.
You're probably right. I don't know. I've never really liked, I like being on camera. I like the attention. I'm a histrionic. So I'm my father's kid. I can't help it. I just enjoy it. That's not so much the attention. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. How do you explain a histrionic personality? I guess they do kind of like attention. It doesn't bother me, I guess, is what I'm saying. Some people, are uneasy with the camera. I think the first time I did it, like way back when, the very first time I filmed it, I remember I had an actual camera and I set it up on something in the office that I was not working in, but at my home. I had like a little room I used for an office, and I would put the camera, I'd prop it up, and I remember going live the first time, like, can anybody really see me? I didn't know because I wasn't even going live. I was actually recording, and I didn't understand how that all worked and how I was going to get it onto the computer after and what that was going to be like. So that was kind of, I don't know, a bit intrepidating, I think, back then, but yeah, that was years ago, and I've been on a lot since then. So it's like just talking on the phone to somebody for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I was used to it, maybe, because I post so many selfies on Facebook, it's like just fun to but like I've never done much live or videos, so
yeah, it takes getting used to, I think.
Yeah.
Well, especially on here because everybody can be so questionable on how they act. So it is a little bit intimidating sometimes, I think, nowadays. I'm going to put my camera on. I'm going to actually.
Oh, you do look very nice.
Thank you. I'm going to actually open the window because it's really hot in here. I feel like I'm suffocating. I shut the door.
Too.
What was that?
We've had a warm day here also.
Yeah, it was kind of chilly today outside, but it's hot in this room. So, and I'm filming in the pink room. You don't have to say why yet. You can explain later. That'll be part of your conversation on here if you want.
Okay.
But I did it in honor. So I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And also your interview page, the thumbnail is also pink. So, yeah, that's why I asked that question.
She would love that.
Yeah, it was kind of an odd question to ask. I was like, she's going to wonder why the heck I'm asking her this, but she'll figure it out eventually if she hasn't yet.
Yes, yeah. Before I've been so nervous, and then about 10 minutes ago, I stopped and I thought about Paula, and it really does it grounds me.
Mm-hmm.
So it reminds me, the seriousness. But I was thinking about StreamYard because can't people, like, what they say comes up, like, so we'll see it roll across.
Yes. Well, I put it up there, actually. I have to click on it like this.
Oh, okay.
I just click on show and it pops up on the screen. Can you see it?
I can. I see it.
Okay, good. Yeah. If I remember to put it up there, it'll come up. And if they're asking you questions, I'll make sure I put them up there for you for sure.
Okay. I
Yeah.
was thinking that too. It's like you said, there may not be many people, but maybe they'll watch afterward.
Yeah. That's what's
Especially,
happening even now with my videos is I'm not getting many people into chat, but then afterwards I'm getting like 100 something views, almost 200 views on some of my live streams.
yeah,
So live streaming seems the way to go, but I really don't have a whole lot to say half the time I come on here.
yeah. But I'm good at that. I'll put video on and like I'll be taking a bath or cleaning, like you said, cleaning the kitchen or whatever, and it's just playing. I'm listening,
Yeah.
but I'm not able to chat back because you're gone. But
Right.
and
Well, you can always leave me comments, and you do. I've seen your comments, and I've responded to them. I like getting comments. It's not the same as it was when I first came on here at all. It's really not. I used to get tons and tons of comments and a lot of support, and that's just all gone to the dogs. Not that people are dogs, but just, it's just gone down the drain. But that's okay. Everything has its season, and maybe it's not the season for that anymore. It's okay.
And I think some people are more attracted to the slimy stuff sometimes.
Yeah, the drama and the trauma. Yeah, exactly. I know I was just talking to Matthew. I said how different reality is compared to the stuff that goes on here. I was just thinking about like my job at the bakery and how I really don't ever hear anybody, getting upset with another person to the point where, it's just getting ridiculous. They just don't do that in real life. They don't act like that. And any job I've ever been at, it hasn't been like that. I think maybe if you got like one or two, maybe people that are a little bit extra, they come in and try to stir stuff up. But usually those people don't last very long at a job because they just boot them. They don't stay long.
That's very true.
But on here, there's really no actual boundaries, discipline, whatever you want to call it. Nobody enforces any rules. So people say and do what they want. And it gets really, really vile and graphic and inappropriate as far as I'm concerned, for my eyes and ears anyway. So I'm not on here very much anymore other than to just, I'm on here, but I'm not in rooms chatting anymore because I don't even go there anymore. Like not just chatting or not even watching. I just don't want to see it or hear it. So I just pretty much stay away from all of it.
Yes, I understand that.
Oh, Mimi's trying to get in through the barely open window and she's doing it. It's amazing how flat cats can make themselves. So I only have, go ahead.
And your guinea pigs are so cute also.
Yeah, unfortunately we have to rehome them because we can't afford them. They're so expensive. Yeah, the hay, the bedding, the food, and they have to eat fresh vegetables. And it's like we can barely afford our fresh vegetables and we're giving them to guinea pigs. So it's just not working out for us. We both agree we bit off more than we could chew with that whole thing. We got excited and at the time we could do it. We both were working a lot of hours and we could pay for it. And it just, since COVID hit, we lost our jobs for a while. And then, we got our jobs back. My job closed down and I had to go to a different place. And it's just been crazy and not working out too well with that. But that's okay. We're at peace with it. It's going to make more room in the living room, not having the big cage in there. We also don't have a very big house. 523 square feet isn't much. So it just takes up a lot of room. But I'll miss them for sure. There was a guy that was interested in them, but I went on Facebook and looked up his profile and he did not. There was skeletons and skulls and he's standing there with a chainsaw. And I'm like, no, no, you're not getting my guinea pigs. No. If they're going to go anywhere, they're going to go to a home where they're going to be loved and not harmed in any way or used for bait for a snake or something terrible like that. Exactly. I'm very careful about that.
Exactly.
Well, we only got a couple minutes. I guess we could get started. We don't have to start at exactly 7. Nobody else.
Right.
So that's fine. Okay. Let me find my little notebook here. And I'm actually going to turn this off while I read. Okay, so after spending an intense couple of weeks reading Sandy's book, Cross My Heart, I have to say I truly feel that people's lives will be forever changed reading this book. Gratefulness and understanding will come in their own lives, and they'll experience and understand the strength of companionship and how it can hold people together through the hardest times of pain, confusion, and loss. Sandy has politely and wonderfully agreed to join us today to share about her book and answer any questions that we might have afterwards. So thank you so much, Sandy, for being with us today on the Dispeller channel.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you're here. So much went into preparing for this and planning it and getting everything together and getting us both comfortable with all of it. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, your title is Cross My Heart. Why did you choose that title?
Because always throughout our lives, and we were so close in age, that I don't remember a time that she wasn't in my life. But growing up, it was a big deal. If you made a promise, you had to accompany it with cross your heart or hope to die. Yep. And when I made the promise to her that I would write the book, I remember thinking in my head, cross my heart and hope to die. So when I was trying to think of a title, I was more thinking of her. Almost like my last words to her. So in some ways, I don't know if it gets the point across of what the book really is, but I wrote it. I started writing it the day after she passed away, so it was very fresh, and I think it was my last words to her, cross my heart, that I would write the book. So that's where the title came from.
Were there any other titles that you had kind of pondered when you were writing the book?
Yes. Oh my goodness, there were several. I remember the first one was The Promise. But then I realized the promise was only part of the book. It was more of a chapter than the book, because it started out one thing, and when I started writing, and anyone who thinks writing a book is easy, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I always loved to write, but I even bought one of those little recorders, and I recorded story after story, everything I could remember she'd ever told me. And as I started writing it, I thought, the promise doesn't really get it. And then another title I think I thought of was something to the effect of, a friend of mine had suggested. She suggested hogwash. And she said it was because of the state of my family.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that would be funny, and it might kind of drop, but I just didn't like it. It just, I just thought it lost some sincerity somewhere.
Yeah.
So I settled on Cross My Heart, and it was really strictly because it was my message to Paula. And the picture on the front, and that's in the book, it's explained in the book, is actually a picture that she kept beside her bed all of her life. So even all the years we didn't talk or anything, it was there. And it's a picture of that exact picture. So
yeah, that's awesome. So could you share an overview of the book with us?
Well, my sister and I were 1 year apart in age, and we were very, very close until some point in our 20s, mid to late 20s. And it was basically life changes. and she kind of tried to stay close to the family. I was running like the wind, trying to stay away from them. And then I could not tolerate her husband, and I met someone, who just made my life something I never dreamed I could be happy, or I never really knew what happiness was till I met him. So we went in totally different directions. Also, Paula's drinking came into play, and I just wasn't a drinker. So we just went different ways. And then in the last few years, it was right after her husband died that I saw her, and I realized that those years where I'd been out riding motorcycles and doing crazy things and going on trips and just having a life, she was extremely ill and drinking, and I felt so guilty, and I tried then to reconnect with her, because I thought, this is not good. I don't have much time. You just don't realize that time sneaks up on you and you're getting older. And at first she wouldn't talk to me, and then she finally did. And so the story kind of takes you through the years when we were close and then when we weren't, and what we both kind of were doing. And then it brings us back together, that in the last year of her life, we were very close again. And kind of, what happened to her.
Yeah, it definitely draws you in chapter by chapter. You're wondering what's going to happen next and who did what. And, it's really good. It's a really good book. I enjoyed it a lot. So how did you obtain most of the information that you got for your book? Did you ask around the family? Did you just kind of go back through memories?
My memories. She spent a lot of time talking about the past, and I didn't. So the last year of her life, it's almost a little bit scary to think about, but she actually really did. Every day when I would talk to her, she'd say, "Do you remember this? Do you remember that?" And I would always say, "No, I don't remember." And she would say, How do you not remember anything? And I think I just chose not to. So
yeah,
she would remind me, and I would be like, "Oh yeah, that's right, I do remember that." And so I just think those stories. And then I went back to some of our childhood friends and asked them, did they remember anything, maybe. And then after that, it was pretty much me just remembering. And I had one family member that helped me, but in all honesty, my family, I didn't tell any of them for a long time, because I've told you, my family, some of them don't know about this book at all.
right.
And the ones that do are not thrilled at all, because they didn't want the truth being told. So,
of course, makes sense. Yeah. What would you like your readers to experience when they read your book?
Oh, I want them to, I guess it's my one shot at maybe making a difference in anyone's life, because I would love for them to see, what life can be if you make it a good thing. The choices you make determine everything, almost everything. Bad things can happen to good people too, but also, think about there's just so many messages in it. Think about how you treat your children. Think about, you know, how I don't know, how you choose to stay in touch with certain family members. You're not going to be here forever. But there were a lot of other little sub stories. It's like, I had a weight problem always. And I'm hoping that there are some people who can relate to that, we kind of got there for a reason. Things happen for a reason. I mean, I'm not saying it's always your parents' fault, everything. I'm not saying that, but I just kind of wanted there to be, I don't know, I wanted people to understand more why we are who we are as adults.
Makes sense. Yeah. I think there's definitely a tie in with weight issues regarding some of the things that you've endured for sure. I know there was for me, being put down by my grandfather and things like that. So, yeah. Oh, hey, Mommy Mars, welcome. Lily, hi. Okay, so I was wondering, do you plan on writing future books?
Oh, I've already been asked that, but I don't know. All of my life, people would say you need to write a book because I just feel like I have so many stories in me, but I don't know. This one, I really want to try to get out there. And so I feel like I need to dedicate more time to get it out there. And
Hmm.
then maybe, maybe someday, because this one would took me a year to write and get it like I wanted it. And that's a long time. And it was hours and hours. It's a lot of work.
I understand because I have two ebooks out on Amazon. So even the ebooks took a long time gathering the thoughts. And I also had an e-course where I had videos and I had to upload each video and make sure the e-course went along with it. I didn't do very well with it. People did not bite the, you know, they didn't, they say biting the bait, but it wasn't really bait, but they didn't have interest in it. It just didn't fly. So that's okay. There's a lot of failures sometimes before you see success in life. That's just how it is. So, if you do decide to write again, do you think you'll be continuing more on your story, getting more in depth on that, or are you going to go into other genres and different things?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I don't know if I could it's so gut wrenching when you're writing about yourself and
It is.
things that have happened. I don't know if I could do that anymore. I would
Mhm.
probably have to do, I don't know, I'd probably have to choose something else. It's if you read the book through the years, there were so many different, it's almost like I feel like I've lived 9 lives like a cat.
Yeah,
So
I
many
can see that.
different things. And um I'd love to write about something that's a little bit more upbeat. I
Hmm.
didn't really realize how sad the book was until it was finished, and I knew it was sad to me in parts because I just had to relive certain things to get
Yeah.
them accurately. But um I don't know. I think I would write about something more positive. I've always wanted to write something funny about dating in this day and age, and um and the mistakes we make and that kind of thing. I thought I might could do like a parody, something
Hmm.
funny about that. But
Neat. Um, Mommy Mars has a question for you.
oh, hey, Mommy Mars. How long did it take you to? um, I don't know if I have completely recovered, but the story, I think the day that I saw the actual books, I sat down and I just cried and cried. And it was like a healing process because it was out there. And up until that point, my sister was younger than me. So I felt like I was living on borrowed time. And I had this urgency to get them printed. And I kept thinking if I get them printed, my son could pick up the torch and go with it, someday. But um, I had to get it printed. I had to get it printed. So I probably maybe a month it took me to start to realize that I'm gonna be okay.
Hmm. Yeah, it would take a while. You've been through a lot. That book was so in depth and so intense. It was absolutely amazing. Um, so, how would you say that writing the book has brought about your own healing and restoration in parts of your life?
Oh, oh, it was amazing to me. I really never thought when I started writing it, I never dreamed that I would start tying things together. I didn't realize how the threads would all kind of weave together and it would all make sense somehow. And I
Hmm.
think that was the biggest healing thing for me was because I realized that was trying to make everyone realize that my sister wasn't as bad as they said, because alcohol is what killed her. That, and if you read the book, there was another force at work, in my opinion. But I was taking it for her, because my point was she didn't become that severe an alcoholic without a very painful childhood, and she really didn't have much to live for. Yeah. But it also, I started seeing it. I know I didn't go that path, but I saw where the same exact behaviors, and from my parents, from other sources throughout my life, had kind of made me who I was. So I think that was probably it for me, is just seeing how all the things that were said to me, and all the things I thought about myself, kind of made me think wrong thoughts about myself. Took me a long time to get over that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we hear those voices in our head for years later. I still hear my mother's voice in my head, my grandfather. So, yeah, it's hard to shake that, I think. Yes. So, while you were going over the memories, which ones would you say gave you that kind of aha moment?
The way that my dad made fun of me. That was a big eye opener, because, and also when I started going through the pictures of us when we were younger, I didn't want to put a lot of pictures, because I really didn't want to focus all of that attention on us, because I know there's so many other children who have difficult childhoods and similar problems. But when I was looking at the pictures and seeing that I really wasn't that fat, but I was being called an elephant, and I truly believed it. And I think I was like, oh my gosh, this wasn't even true, but I believed it. And so I gave up. At a really young age, I gave up on myself and thought very little of myself. And I think that was my biggest aha moment, was that he had influenced that. And like you say, I was hearing his voice over and over and over. You're this, you're that, making fun of me, laughing at me. And I didn't think I was worth anything for a long time.
Understand. And how are you doing now with that?
Oh, I think I do. But I went through a lot of therapy after Mac died, and I had a therapist literally tell me one day in group, cut the voices of your parents off in your head, cut them off, throw them away, because it wasn't true. And that has healed me a lot. I mean, I know now that it really doesn't matter what they thought. It's up to me.
Go ahead. Sorry, there was
it's up to me to decide, and I get to write my own story. And I was pretty much a loner throughout my whole adulthood, so I've kind of been able to realize that nothing they said ever really mattered to me, and that's kind of extreme. But I think there was so much negativity that I had to just be that way, just let it go and start over. Because true. I have found peace, and I have found that I do like myself, I do love myself, and I want to take care of myself. And I had a therapist ask me one time, when do you start taking care of you? And that's a powerful question.
Yeah. Do you feel that, like, in your upbringing, you were kind of almost, I guess, groomed or trained to be a caretaker for other people and kind of put your own wants and needs on the back burner?
Yes. Yes, I was responsible for my younger sister, and I was responsible for things at the house, and then I was to blame. In our house, someone
Mm,
had to always be to blame for everything. There couldn't be an accident or a you
yep.
know something that just happens. It always had to be someone's fault, and I was the oldest.
Hmm.
And so it mostly fell to be my fault. And I always felt like I was at fault, but it made me a very defensive, angry person because I got sick and tired of always having to defend myself. Um,
Hmm.
and I
Definitely.
talk about that in the book. I think as an older teenager, I was probably unbearable to my friends. I lost my friends
Mm,
because I don't think they knew how to deal with me. It had just gotten so bad
hmm.
until I could get away from home and start to try to figure out, what to do with my life, because it made me into a very angry, bitter, hateful person. It
Wow.
was really bad.
I didn't know that. You didn't really cover like a lot about your interactions with your friends, so that's something new I didn't know about you. Um, but I can understand because I also was the oldest in my family, and yes, we get scapegoated a lot. If something goes
Yeah.
wrong, it's your fault. You should know better, you
Hmm.
know. So
Hmm.
I can relate to that a lot. Um,
Yes.
and what you said about there always had to be someone to blame. I used to call that the whodunit household because it was like, whose fault is it? Who did this? And by the time I got married, I was like, we're not going to look for somebody to blame. We're just going to fix the problem. Doesn't
Well,
matter who did it. And I think you see on YouTube, the same thing happens all the time. Who did this? Who did that?
mm,
You owe me. You did this or said that. It's like, who cares? Just
right.
fix. If you can fix it, fix it. It's not worth arguing over and belaboring the point.
I agree.
But I don't know. I think a lot of times social media can kind of remind us of our households of origin, the dysfunction parts of them. And maybe that's
Yes,
why I can't on here at times.
exactly.
I can't relive that. So, does anybody else have any questions for Sandy? Please, now is your time to share them. And if you do want to come up to panel, I did post the link and I also was able to pin it on the YouTube section. So, if you guys want to come up and join and talk, maybe share your own situations, ask Sandy questions about her book or whatever, feel free. I don't have a whole lot of questions. That was really all I had for you. But you can feel free to share anything you want at this point.
Well, I appreciate it. I think, like you say, some of it you just have to read it, and but I
Yeah.
appreciate your questions because it does make me think even more. But I'm very proud of it because I promised, Paula, that I would do it, and I've done it. And it also helped me. I had a friend of mine text me yesterday, I think it was, and she said she got it around 4 p.m. and she had finished by 10 p.m. last night.
Your
I
book?
couldn't believe it. She said she just couldn't put it down.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't either. I mean, I read it within, I think, a week or two. It was just very riveting. Well, and it's fascinating that you're a real person. So many times we just pick a book off the shelf and it's like, oh, that's somebody out there. But to really actually know the author from social media and have been talking to you all along, it's like really fascinating. It's a whole different thing with that. Mommy Mar says she's enjoying listening about your book.
Thank you. I noticed that she's got Memphis in her name. Are you from Memphis, Mommy Mars? I tried to be accurate in the book, and there's a lot of Memphis stuff in the book. And I thought about that as I was writing it, and I thought, no, I want to put it in there because it really is something I want to leave behind for my son and my grandchildren. And I want them to have I don't know, some memories. I would love to have that of my grandmother. So,
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Oh, talk to me a little bit about who was it? Your Aunt Polly, I think her name was, or
Aunt Johnny,
Aunt Johnny. Yeah, sorry.
Aunt Johnny. Oh my goodness. She was the hero of my life. She lived 3 doors down, and she was my mother's oldest sister. And
Mm,
she was 20 years older than my mother. But I thought she was the smartest, kindest, sweetest. She was a very strong Christian woman, loving and generous and wise. And I just have nothing. I never once saw her lose control or say anything unkind, or
Wow.
she was just wonderful. And honestly, there were so many times in my life when I really was more grounded and mentally okay when I was close to her. And when we moved away from her, it devastated me. But whenever I would come into contact with her, she always knew when I needed help. She always knew, because one of the issues with my growing up was I didn't have clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the way that my mom was trying to deal with my weight problem was, if you don't have clothes to wear, you'll lose weight so that you can get clothes. That was like
Right.
I'll buy you clothes if you'll lose weight.
Bribery.
It didn't work. But my aunt would realize something like that was going on, and she would step in and she would just say, "This is not going to be this way." She was just my hero over and over, and I miss her very much.
Yeah, I had an aunt very much like your Aunt Johnny. Mine was Aunt Eileen, and very much a very godly woman, kind woman. She was feisty though, because
Yeah.
as we found out, we all had different types of backgrounds in us that made us have a little bit of an edge to our personality. And I miss her so terribly though, so I can relate to your Aunt Johnny for sure.
Yeah, and then my grandma, Polly, she was a feisty little thing. She was like 4'10", and she also was a very strong Christian, but she took care of a farm. My grandfather died in his early 60s, and she lived to be in her 90s, and she stayed on that farm alone. She kept up the fence row, and she made her garden, and she raised strawberries, and she just one of the strongest people I ever knew. But she also loved me, and I loved her very much. Um, she was very, very wise. I remember she had a porch swing, and I would sit in the swing, and she would sit in her rocker, and we would talk hours and hours and hours about anything. And
Mm-hmm.
really, for me, I just hate to say it, but those two people influenced me the most.
Yeah,
Um, and their words are what kind of stays with me now.
right.
Um, they were just so wise and kind, and so yeah, those are my favorite memories.
And Mommy Mars answered your question a while back. That's her doggy that died. His name was Memphis.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It was very hard for her, and
Oh,
still
I'm
is
sorry.
very hard for her. There's something about losing pets that you just don't ever get over. And I remember you put something in the book about losing your pets, and
Yes.
yeah, and as children, you don't really understand it, I think, but as an adult, I think it's really hard. I mean, I think some children, if the pet dies in a brutal way or something, understands it, but as an adult, when you form that attachment, and a lot of times as adults, we don't have great relationships with our spouses or our significant others, so those pets kind of fill that void, and when they're
Right.
gone, it's so hard.
It really is. Yeah, I lost a dog last year, so I know it's terrible. It's like losing family.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, okay, so she has another question for you here.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's fine. What inspired me was, you know, pretty much I've always wanted to write, but I never would have taken the time to do it. But my sister passed away fairly suddenly, and the night that she died, of course, COVID rules were in play, but I had gotten so upset on the phone. The doctor told me I could come see her, so they got me into the room with her, and I'm just sitting there with her, body. You know, her spirit wasn't there. Um and I just remember this overwhelming um feeling coming over me, like, oh no, oh no, her stories, who's gonna tell them? I mean, she's the only one that ever did, and oh no, there's nobody to tell her stories anymore. And then it was like somebody knocked me in the head and said, oh yes, there is. There's only one left, and you can do it.
Mm.
And it was almost like she was telling me, you do this. You've been talking about it for years. You write this book. And
Hmm.
that was my inspiration, and it really did keep me going because I missed her so much.
Yeah.
We had gotten to where we had talked every day again, 2 or 3 times a day, and you know how you go to make that call and then you realize nobody's going to answer it.
Mm.
And so I just poured all of that into the book.
Wow.
That was most definitely my inspiration.
Your name, the storyteller, did that come from your incident with your sister or something else?
You know, I came up with that before it. And when we were talking, I told her about me calling myself the storyteller on YouTube. And because we both have always been big storytellers, we would
Mm-hmm.
always gather together, you know, as children, and we'd tell scary stories, and all the other kids would squeal and scream. We loved to tell stories, both of us. But um, when I told her I called myself storyteller, she said, I'm the storyteller. So I think we both considered ourselves storytellers because we just always had done that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. That makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering. I had a feeling you had the name long before you wrote the book because I've always
Yes.
known you as a storyteller, I think.
Yes. And you know, I had thought about um doing a channel, and I don't know if I ever could because I'm a little bit like you. I don't know that I could do the trolls and the negativity because
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lifetime of it, and I just don't think I have the tolerance for it.
Yeah. I just can't the ungodly behaviors and stuff. And I granted my church would tell me, well, if somebody isn't following the Bible, they're gonna do any number of things because they don't have that conscience. They don't
Right.
have the Holy Spirit to tell them this is wrong and to stop doing it. Nor would they want to stop doing it because Satan makes things desirable. He's not going to tempt people with things they don't want to do. So
Mm-mm.
it's going to be enjoyable for them. And, it's kind of like if it feels good, do it. Feed the flesh, whatever, eat, drink, and be merry for tomorrow we die. That's kind of the world philosophy. And now with everything happening, around the world, even more so, I think people just are hopeless. They just feel like, well, who cares? We're just going to live it up while we can because we may not have a tomorrow. And I just don't have that attitude. So my attitude is I have a mission on this earth and, I'm going to serve God. That's just how it is. And I can't do those things and I can't partake in them. And most of them disgust me and make me feel really bad. So, yeah,
Right.
I don't really fit in here. I'm kind of a square peg in a round hole, I guess, or maybe a round peg in a square hole. Not sure. But yeah. But yeah, if you started a channel, that'd be great. I think you'd be good at it. But I totally understand reservations of not doing it. Wouldn't blame anybody for not doing it because I've been on here since 2008 and been on here as long as live streaming's been around, and it has been a trip downward, honestly, more than upward. I can tell you that. It's been more negative than positive for the most part.
And it's really tough because we all have real problems, jobs and bills and houses and cars and
Mhm.
children and family and friends. And then you've got these trolls coming in and saying off the wall things, um and it bothers you. I would me, it's like it would just probably drive my blood pressure over the brink.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Trolls are the least of my problem, but I know what you mean. Some
yeah.
crazy stuff that people say in general is just ridiculous.
Right.
Let's see. So does anybody else have anything you wanted to talk to Sandy about or ask her about her book? Like maybe how to get it? How do you get a copy of your book? There's a good question.
Well, I guess I could give you my email, or you've got my email. Just
Mm-hmm.
maybe if we could post my email,
Yep,
um,
I'll definitely do that.
anyone can just email me and let me know, and I can get them one. Because I've just started. I decided at first I thought I was going to go on Amazon. I was going to do all this, and then I thought, but that's not why I wrote this.
Yeah.
So started. I just got a one printing done, and I'm probably gonna maybe reach out to a couple of publishers somewhere along the way, but I'm just want to do it slow and easy. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I thank you very much for doing this, because I really would like to help people. And I thought about just burying it, like just give it to friends, family, and then let that be it. But I thought I'm going to make an attempt to reach out, because there are so many people who've gone through similar things and they don't talk about it. Nobody talks about these things.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps to read, always helps me to read or see where someone else that I would have never dreamed went through exactly the same thing and they
Yeah.
came out okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you inspiration, motivation. And I'd like to be that.
Yeah, definitely. How old was your sister when she passed? I forgot to ask you that.
She was 54.
Mm.
And it was so sad, because I don't think she had any idea. She our last conversation was her asking me to help her find a lift to help her get out of the bed, because she'd broken both legs, and she was not recovering well at all. And part of it was that old house she was living in was so horrible, and part of
Yeah.
it was the drinking. And
Mm-hmm.
but she was looking for help. And the fact that that's the last time I ever spoke with her, it haunts me.
Yeah. Was she close by you? Like, or was she like in another
No,
state?
she was in another state,
Oh,
and she
okay.
was about an hour and a half away, which is not that far. But during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
my job required that I could not leave the county without permission from my human
Wow.
resources department. So
Yeah.
I wasn't very free to move out. I wasn't even here in Memphis. We were not supposed to be out of our houses unless it was an emergency of some sort, food, medicine. Now
Right.
go back home. And so before I could even go and check on her, I had to get written permission from work. It was just it was it was
Uh,
such a different time, and for me it'll be something I'll never forget.
yeah. That's hard. I know the virus has definitely changed a lot of lives and not always for the
Mhm.
better, but
Mm-mm.
in some ways it has. I know for me, it's definitely taught me the value of every breath I take. Honestly,
Yes.
when you can't breathe, it's like, okay, I can finally breathe again. And every chance I get, even if it's chilly out, I'll get out the door just to get some breaths of fresh air.
Right.
I remember when I was just stuck at home in my bed and I couldn't breathe even in there. And I just longed to get out the door and get some oxygen in my lungs. And even if you go outside, you can't breathe in. So it's just there, it's futile. And you wonder if you're going to breathe again. It's hard.
It is frightening too.
It is. Yeah, it was very sad. And the book is very sad. There's happy moments in the book as well. But it is a very sad book. It definitely made me cry a lot.
Oh no.
I cried a lot in front of my husband when we were reading when I was reading it to him. I was just like,
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
no,
You know,
it's fine. It was a sad situation. Who wouldn't cry unless you don't have a heart or a soul? I mean, it definitely evokes emotion for sure, and it was a true story. So it's
right.
going to be like that. No, there's
And
no
I
need to.
also, I kind of felt like all of that happened and I made it. And
Yeah,
it's almost like I need to do I must have made it for some reason. And so that was another reason for me writing it. It's one of the main reasons I want to get it out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you'd be surprised at what you can go through if you have to.
Yes, that's very true. Definitely. So does anybody else have any questions? If not, we can let Sandy go here and everybody can go back to whatever they were doing. And I will post her email so you can reach out to her if you want to get a copy of the book. This is the book right here, Cross My Heart by Sandy McCollum. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, by the way.
You are saying it correctly.
That's McCollum, like a column.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. I wanted to say McCollum, and then I thought, no, it looks like McCollum, so I'm going to say it that way.
No, that's perfect.
All right, awesome. Okay, well, Sandy, thank you so much for being here and telling us about your book. I will be praying that it definitely gets sold and that lives are touched and changed, and I know mine truly was. And I'm really grateful that you sent it to me and allowed me this time with you to review it and share about it. People need to know it's there, so.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much. Anybody who would like one, just email me.
All righty. I'll post that email down below. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. And thanks again, Sandy. And I will talk to you soon. Everybody
All righty.
have a great night and be blessed.
You too. Bye-bye.
Shalom.